evening and welcome to Posse Presents. Tonight we have a first of firsts. We've got no Zach tonight and Mike is in control. Now that could be a good thing. That's a scary thing, but I'm sure it's going to be a fine thing. Right, Mike? Yep. Alrighty, so yep, Zach took a night off for himself, and thank you to Mike for making sure that you were here tonight. Sometimes we have Mike, sometimes we don't, but he stepped up to the plate and the show does go on, which is a beautiful thing. Many of you know I don't often miss a show unless it's, you know, something that I have to miss it for, and I had a miss a couple of weeks ago for being sick. Tonight would not have been a good night to miss, with a couple of events that are coming up that I'm very excited to be tabling at, not just attending. You know, a lot of things that happen on Saturday nights I unfortunately cannot make. For instance, For the Love of Jack has a comedy night tonight, and I talked about that a few weeks ago, and unfortunately I can't be there because I'm here. But you know, that's my commitment and I stand by it, and you know, I have for the last 6.5 years or so. So it's all good. You know, everybody needs a little time for themselves once in a while, and you know, it works out. So anyway, I have good news from last week's show, and that is that Finn was adopted, the little Shih Tzu, and that's a very nice thing to hear. He was actually, I guess there was something in the works for him, and so he was adopted. The announcement came Sunday, right after I had put up the show. So, you know, no harm, no foul. In case anything had gone awry, he was still out there, and that, you know, that's all you can do, is make sure that the animals are out there, because they do need the exposure. Also, if you remember Buster, poor Buster out in the Jersey shelter, who was returned because he jumped on somebody in his new home, he was adopted as well. So 2 dogs with happy endings, hopefully happily ever afters. And you know, folks, that's what it's all about, is the happily ever after. And you know, not every home is going to be right for a dog. Buster and Finn were 2 that, you know, didn't find the right place to be right off the bat. And you know, as frustrating as it is, I think, yeah, it's better that a shelter or a rescue get a dog back than for the people who adopt to do something foolish with the dog. But by the same token, you can't have unrealistic expectations of shelter animals or any animals, because it's a big change for them. You know, no animal is going to be 100% perfect. You know, everybody thinks they have the perfect dog and none of them are wrong, but besides that, animals are all going to have their own little quirks. And I get that, you know, you adopt a dog and you know, it's not like your dream sequence, and it's not how you envision having a dog is going to be. But think about the dog. You know, give it time to settle in, give it time to understand that it's home, give it time to bond with you, and give yourself time to bond with the dog. It's a two-way street, and you know, just because you're like, oh, I adopted you, now you're home, you know, get over it, settle in, the dog doesn't realize that, doesn't understand that, you know, it just went home to stay, and it doesn't understand the rules, and it doesn't know what you expect of it. You have to work with that animal, you have to teach it, excuse me, and it takes time. For Finn, the people who had him first didn't like that he was like clingy and following them around. Well, yeah, because maybe he's just a little insecure because he just bounced a little bit, and now he's in a new home, and he wants some reassurance. You know, get over yourself. And for Buster, yeah, he's out of the kennel, he's in a house, he's all happy. Look, people, people, people. And so he jumped on you. Get over it. It boggles my mind. It just boggles my mind how people don't have the proper take on bringing a new animal into the house. It just, people are on my nerves really badly today. You know, if you ever had like one of those days where you just really didn't want to get out of bed and you didn't want to have to people and you didn't want to have to deal, today's one of those days for me. You know, it's been a long haul of so many horrible stories that I see online about what people are doing to animals and what people are doing to each other, and I just have a really hard time with it sometimes, and this is one of those weeks. You know, there were 3 dogs this week alone found in crates in some sort of a body of water in an attempt to drown them. And unfortunately, one did succeed. You know, the dog was found deceased, and I can't imagine the terror of that dog's last few moments to be in like a closed carrier and water filling up into it, and, you know, the struggle that it couldn't get away from. I believe the other 2, well, one dog for sure was adopted by the person who found it. And it was hard to tell if the 3rd dog that I saw was even alive. But, you know, what are people becoming? Why are animals' lives becoming so insignificant? You know, the widespread abuse is just incredible. You know, old dogs are being dumped at shelters because the people don't want to deal with it anymore. You know, animals being left tied in the woods and being left in houses and apartments when people move out. How are animals' lives so insignificant that people can walk away and just not care what's going to happen? You know, people just bring an animal to a shelter because they don't want it anymore, and they're told that, you know, the owner surrenders are going to be the first ones to be killed, and they can leave the animal there and walk out with a clear conscience and not care that they just basically killed their animal, throwing them from moving vehicles, as well as just dumping them on the side of the road. I mean, how do you do that? Are you really thinking that someone else is going to magically appear and make it all better? Are you really just trying to hope that something terrible happens to that animal? I mean, there's got to be some sort of train of thought, some forethought as to what they think is going to happen to these animals. You leave it in an apartment with nobody there. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to starve to death. You know, some of these animals are being left in crates, dogs in a crate in an empty house. You know, what's going to come of that? I mean, why? How? What's wrong with people? You know, the shooting of the neighbor's dogs and the other types of things that people will do just for fun. You know, you see it much more because of the internet and Facebook and these viral videos of these jerks entertaining themselves at an animal's expense. I saw something just yesterday teaching camp kids to paint horses. I mean, how is a horse a canvas? Get some paper, get some chalk, get the sidewalk, do something else. How are you painting a live animal and, you know, teaching kids that, like, an animal is a thing? I don't understand. You know, abuse like everything else, like these animals that are getting dumped. It's all over social media, and so people should be much more aware of it. But by the same token, I don't understand the audience for it. You know, I can't imagine taking an old dog and just being like, yeah, I don't want to deal with it anymore. Trust me, if anybody knows like how hard it is to deal with senility and incontinence and, you know, all the fun things that come with, you know, an animal getting older. I know, and it's not easy, but you know what? You sign up. You sign up for the entire life of an animal. You are responsible for the animal that you take in for its entire life. And if for any reason, and I will give you that sometimes there are valid reasons, it's better for everybody if someone doesn't keep the animal, but then you're still responsible for a safe and responsible placement of that animal. You can't just not care what happens to it. What gives you that right? That animal has depended on you. And yet it still keeps happening. And it's over and over and over again. When is it going to stop? I mean, I guess if people treat each other as poorly as we do these days, with absolutely no conscience, I suppose it falls into perspective that animals aren't going to be treated any better. But how? I don't understand what's happening in this world, and I don't understand how lives mean so little anymore. And of course, you know, my biggest concern is the animals. People need to spay and neuter. People need to take the time to train their animals. You know, they don't come perfect. They don't come knowing everything. You've got to invest in it. And you know what? If you're not able to, then you shouldn't have one. And if you have come to that realization that you shouldn't have had one, yeah, it's very difficult sometimes to get an animal into a rescue, which is certainly more preferable than a pound or you know, a city animal shelter. But you know, if you haven't gotten your animal vaccinations, if you haven't spayed or neutered, if the dog or cat has behaviors, you know, that's on you. You set it up to fail. And so, yeah, a rescue is only going to be as good as its foster network, as good as its bank account, to be able to take an animal and start from scratch with vetting and spaying and neutering and shots and maybe training. You know, people just think that it's, you know, well, I'll get somebody to take it. And that's just not the case. And those are the same people who are just going to dump it in a kill shelter and walk away and not care. And that poor animal was set up to fail from the day it went home with you. We really need more people to educate the masses and try to help put a stop to all this. We need more people to advocate for spaying and neutering. And we need more foster homes and rescues. You know, a rescue can only take as many as they have foster homes. And, you know, some people are in a position to be able to foster more than one at a time, and some can only do one at a time. So without fosters, the rescues can't try to help these animals. It's a vicious, vicious cycle. And I don't know what the solution is, other than more people need to get involved. They really do. I think that's pretty much my rant. And, you know, if anybody would like to further discuss that with me, I would be more than happy to do that. But I'm trying to fast forward through my points of discussion because I think I've covered that all. And I do have some adoptables for us tonight and some events to cover. But, you know, you really have to understand the frustration that people in rescue and animal advocates have, and that's the reason for some of my rants, because it's just too much. You know, there's so much that I see and there's so much that goes on, and a lot of people like to close their eyes to it and like pretend it doesn't exist, and you know, not in my neighborhood, but it's everywhere. And you know, if you care, you'll get involved. If you can, you'll get involved. And there's a lot of ways to get involved. And again, I've always said, you know, if somebody wants to foster, I'll be happy to find a rescue to help you get started. If you want to adopt, there's plenty of places to adopt from, and there are plenty of animal advocates that would help you choose a dog and choose wisely. People really need to adjust their expectations of animals because they're getting failed left and right, and it's the people's fault. It really is. Anyway, so there's still dogs in Waterbury who need homes. We have some pictures, and unfortunately this was 3 side by side and only the middle one shows. It was too wide of a picture, but look at that sweet face. There's 3 or 4 dogs that are posted that still need homes. They're all girls. I wish we could get the whole rest of the picture up there, but this face, I believe we showed a few weeks ago. We've got to keep them on our radar. Waterbury fills up fast. Again, you can go to Pet Finder and look them up. The best bet is to just go down to the pound. It's a high intake, it's a high turnover, unless of course things slow down and they start to get full and there are no adoptions. There'll be big dogs, there'll be little dogs, there's lots of pit mixes. It's Waterbury, but by all means keep them on your radar. If you've got rescue connections, if you've got adopters who are looking, just go down there, go down during adoption hours, check out the dogs, and let's help keep them flowing and get them out of there before they are in garbage bags. So the Waterbury Pound is at 200 Municipal Road. The number, if you want to call, is 203-574-6909. That's 203-574-6909. Next up, we have Midnight. And Midnight is gorgeous. Look at his little teethies. I think they're so cute. And that little waggy tail. He's having a very hard time with shelter life. He's been waiting for someone to call his very own. He needs to be in a home with no pets and no small children. Midnight is a young, active guy who will need exercise regularly and some basic training. Not out of the norm. He's young, he's energetic, he has probably had his fill of being cooped up. He probably never really had anybody to teach him how to be a dog. So here you are, a young guy, a clean slate, and just needs to be the only pet. That's not the worst thing in the world, and it doesn't make him a bad dog. So if you cannot adopt any of these animals that I show you tonight, please go to the Pound Posse Presents Facebook page and share, because sharing is what's going to get them home. So anyway, Midnight is at the Tallinn, Connecticut Animal Control, and if you are interested in finding out more, you can call 860-871-3676. Once again, that's 860-871-3676. And Midnight really needs to get out of there. He's having a hard time. We don't want him to run out of time. I was looking around today and I saw that Bridgeport Animal Control has some absolute stunners. First up, we have Bond. Hello. And he is absolutely gorgeous. That background just sets his eyes off amazingly. Bond as in James Bond, ha ha ha. He is about a year old. There is not a lot of information on him. Actually, there's no information on him. But oh my God, that face. He is just gorgeous. And I'm pretty sure he's probably, a very active kind of guy. And, same thing, being cooped up, needs to get it out of his system, decompress, little bit of training, and he'd probably be a fabulous companion. He'd certainly be a head turner. They say dogs are chick magnets or whatever. So, here's your perfect example. Anyway, Bridgeport Animal Control, 203-576-7727. Once again, 203-576-7727. Next up, we have Kermit. And this face embodies the joyous, happy pit bull and that pity smile that I just adore. Kermit is another young, energetic dog who needs some basic training. Again, you know, all of these young dogs, people bite off a lot more than they can chew when, you know, they're puppies and they're cute, and then they get older and they don't pay any attention to them, and they don't train them, and they don't exercise them, and they don't have time for them, and they end up running loose, or they end up getting, you know, surrendered to the shelter, and, you know, they don't have a clue as to, you know, what is expected of them. And again, failure by the people. It's just a really, really ugly cycle. Not a lot more information on Kermit, but he is gorgeous. Go meet him. 203-576-7727. 203-576-7727. Next up, we have Gilmore. And he's another one who embodies that happy pity smile. He is just gorgeous with those little fold down ears. He's, again, a handsome young guy, energetic. He's got a whole lot of love to give. You know, pit bulls have hearts of gold. And, you know, again, there's not any information about these dogs, and it kind of stinks more than kinda. It really stinks. And he's at Bridgeport as well, 203-576-7727. But, you know, the shelters need to do a little bit more to be able to help these dogs get home. Some of them sit around, you know, they're pretty faces, but people want to know more about them. I mean, even if the people in the shelters, and a lot of them, the city shelters don't allow volunteers, you know, these dogs don't get a lot of interaction. So, you know, everybody's busy, there's a lot of dogs, there's a whole lot going on, I get it. But, you know, even if somebody would add, oh, you know, he likes his belly rubbed, or, oh, you know, something personal, something cute, something, you know, he likes his treats, you know, he likes, you know, he's happy to see people, something, anything, any little bone that you could throw the public to try to help them be, you know, interested in this dog or help get it home. You know, it's a really, really big problem with the public shelters that, you know, they don't have the staffing and they don't have the time. Well, you know, somehow that's got to change. They really need just, you know, a little bit more. It's bad enough that they're homeless and they've lost everything, but then they lose their identity too. You know, just post a little something, it'd be okay. Finally, I have a kitty cat that needs a little bit of help. This guy has been passed from one family member to another. Wasn't really getting along with the animals already in the home, so they let him outside. It just boggles my mind. But anyway, he's been living outside, and, you know, we're really trying to get him off the street, so to speak. I do have a potential foster. We really are looking for a rescue to step up right now and, you know, take the responsibility for him. Here's kind of like the reverse thing. We've got a foster, we need a rescue. He's not up to date, he needs to be neutered, get his testing done, and then he needs to find a home. Whether or not he's going to be good with other pets, I think that's going to be determined best after he's neutered and, you know, placed in a solid environment where, you know, there are slow introductions. So anyway, if any of my rescue friends can step up and take this guy on, please email me, pawprints713@aol.com. Once again, that's pawprints713@aol.com, or if we're friends on Facebook, send me a message and I will put you in touch. I will take the camera back. And just a reminder, in 2 weeks on August 18th is the Bikers Against Animal Cruelty Rally. at the North Haven Fairgrounds. That's going to be from 1 to 6. It's an amazing time. I will have a table there again this year. Hudson the Railroad Puppy, Little Oliver Foundation, Juno's Place, For the Love of Jack, Desmond's Army. I could go on and on. We're all going to be there, and it's going to be fabulous. No Animal Left Unfed's going to be there this year. So it's going to be a who's who of Pound Posse Presents guests, and I'm going to love it. Saturday, September 1st, from 10 to 5, Bow Wow Bark in the Park at Rockwell Park in Bristol. Once again, I will have a table there. Juno, Sherry, Monique, Deb, we're all going to be judges again this year. I can't wait. And just being announced is the Desmond's Army Legacy event. And this poster is absolutely gorgeous. Much respect to Linda for a job well done. This is going to be October 6th from 12 to 5 at Cadillac Ranch in Southington. There will be vegetarian and vegan food available, music, raffles, door prizes, and if you see that little square of Desmond, that is a painting that was done of Desmond by a very well-established artist, and that is the feature raffle. And I can't wait to see that in person. They're going to have that at the events that they're doing this summer for people to see and take their chances. But this is going to be great. This is their first annual Desmond's Legacy event. And, you know, obviously I'm going to be there. And it's going to be a tight one because there's got to be a show that night. So anyway, I will take the camera back. And what are we, about out of time? Alrighty, you know what to do then. I'm going to say peace, love, and dogs. Until next week, thank you very much, and good night.